The alien queen sat on her throne of shining silver metal, surrounded by tall banners of her empire. Her court was filled with advisors, generals, and nobles from different star systems. They all looked at her with admiration, waiting for her words. She had ruled her people for many years, and her strength was known across the galaxy. To her, no species was more powerful than her own. Her armies had defeated countless worlds, and her empire stretched farther than most could imagine. That day, however, a small matter had been brought to her attention: humans. The Queen's advisors explained that humans had asked to join the galaxy's upcoming combat demonstration, a grand event where warriors from many worlds gathered to show their strength. Some believed that humans deserved a chance to prove themselves. Others argued that they were too weak, too new to galactic society. The Queen listened quietly, and then her lips curved into a sharp smile. She tilted her head back and let out a laugh that echoed across the chamber. "Humans," she said with amusement. "These fragile creatures who live on a small blue world? These beings who must cover themselves in cloth to survive their own sun? And they think they can fight alongside true warriors?" Her court erupted in laughter, following her lead. Her generals chuckled, her nobles exchanged smirks, and her advisors shook their heads. The Queen raised one long, elegant hand, silencing the hall, and continued. "I have seen reports of their bodies. Thin bones, weak muscles compared to our champions. They do not have claws. They do not have natural armor. They do not even have the size of the great warriors of other species. Their weapons are simple, their minds untested in true war. Tell me, what use is such a species in combat?" Her words made the hall roar again. To the Queen, humans were a joke. They were soft, untested, and unimpressive. Her empire had fought against species that were 10 times stronger, faster, or more dangerous. Compared to those enemies, humans were nothing but children playing at being warriors. One of her younger advisors tried to speak cautiously. "Your Majesty, perhaps it would be wise to at least watch them. Many species underestimated us before we grew into power. Maybe humans wish only to prove they belong." The Queen waved her hand dismissively. "If they want to prove themselves, let them farm their land or build their cities. War is not their place. The galaxy does not need to waste time watching weaklings stumble in battle." Still, word of the humans spread across her court. Some whispered that perhaps the humans had hidden strength. Others repeated the Queen's words, laughing at the thought of humans standing in the same arena as giants from other worlds. The Queen herself was entertained by the idea, but in her heart she did not feel even a flicker of respect. She saw them as a curiosity, nothing more. In the days that followed, stories reached her ears. Tales of human endurance, of soldiers who fought through impossible odds on their home world, of people who survived environments that killed other species in moments. She dismissed them all. "Exaggerations," she said. "Stories made larger by their own people. Weak creatures always tell the loudest tales to cover their flaws." Her generals nodded eagerly, agreeing with her every word. Her nobles smirked, confident in the Queen's judgment. She was rarely wrong. She had risen to power by knowing the difference between real threats and empty shadows. To her, humans were shadows, insignificant, soft, and laughable. When she thought about the upcoming combat demonstration, she imagined how it would play out. She pictured her best warriors standing tall and proud, while humans fumbled with their simple weapons. She saw the audience laughing as humans fell within the first moments of the battle. The thought brought a smile to her lips. At night, when she walked through the gardens of her palace, she spoke to her closest advisor about it. "Do you see the irony? The galaxy spends time debating whether humans are strong enough, when it is clear they are not. They do not understand. War is not in their nature. Their bones will break, their hearts will falter, and they will beg for mercy before the true warriors of the galaxy." The advisor bowed deeply and replied, "As always, Your Majesty speaks with wisdom." In her private chambers, the Queen looked out of the high windows at the stars. She thought about her empire, her victories, and her enemies who had fallen one by one. She thought about the coming demonstration and how it would be another chance to show the galaxy the strength of her people. And she thought about the humans, small, fragile, and foolish enough to believe they could compete. She laughed again, softly this time, a laugh not of fear, not of worry, but of complete certainty. To her, humans were not warriors. They were a joke waiting to be revealed before the entire galaxy, and she was eager to watch the moment when everyone else finally saw the truth she already knew. But far away, on Earth, human soldiers were preparing. They were not dressed in shining armor or carrying strange weapons. They were training in the rain, in the heat, in the snow. They were running across mountains, crawling through mud, and lifting weights until their muscles shook. They were not laughing. They were not boasting. They were preparing with quiet focus. The alien queen did not know it yet, but her laughter would not last forever. The day of the great demonstration finally arrived. The arena chosen for the event was unlike anything the humans had ever seen. It was a massive circular structure, built on a neutral world, a place where many different species came together for trade, diplomacy, and sport. The arena could hold millions of spectators, and that day it was full to the very last seat. Creatures of every shape and size had gathered, their eyes glowing with curiosity, their voices buzzing with excitement. Everyone wanted to see the galaxy's strongest warriors compete. At the highest seat on a throne carved from dark stone sat the alien queen. She wore a crown that shimmered with jewels taken from conquered worlds, and her robe flowed like liquid metal around her. Her face carried an expression of calm pride. To her, this was more than a contest. It was a chance to show the galaxy once again why her empire was feared and respected. The queen's warriors stood ready in the center of the arena. They were tall, broad, and covered in thick armor that seemed impossible to break. Their weapons glowed with advanced energy, and their eyes burned with confidence. Around them, other alien champions waited as well. Giants from frozen planets, creatures with scales that could resist blasters, beings with claws sharp enough to cut through stone. Each warrior looked terrifying in their own way. Then the humans arrived. A hush fell over the arena as a small group of men and women walked through the wide gates. They carried simple weapons, swords made of steel and rifles of basic design compared to the high-tech tools of other species. They wore light armor, nothing fancy, nothing glowing with energy. To the crowd, they looked plain, almost unimpressive. The alien queen's lips curved into a smile. She leaned toward one of her advisors and whispered, "Look at them. They do not shine. They do not roar. They walk as if they are going to a small training exercise, not into the greatest test of strength in the galaxy." Her court chuckled at her words. The humans looked almost fragile compared to the towering figures already on the field. Some spectators from other planets laughed openly, pointing at the humans as if they were children who had lost their way into the arena. But the humans did not seem bothered. They did not shout back. They did not show anger or fear. They walked in silence, their faces steady, their eyes focused on the field before them. Their calmness was strange to many in the crowd, who expected weak species to tremble in the presence of giants. The queen watched them carefully. Their movements were controlled, their steps in rhythm, almost as if they were one unit instead of individuals. She noticed that while other warriors showed off their strength, flexing, roaring, or flashing their weapons, the humans stood still, conserving their energy. To her, this was amusing. She saw it not as discipline, but as hesitation. "They are nervous," she said to her generals. "See how they stand so still? They fear what is about to come." Her generals nodded in agreement, though a few of them looked uncertain. Something about the human silence was unsettling, though none dared say it aloud. The announcer's voice thundered through the arena, introducing each group of warriors. The names of alien champions were met with cheers, roars, and cries of excitement. When the humans were announced, the sound was different. Some clapped politely, but most laughed or booed, convinced that the humans would not last even a single round. The queen raised her hand and silenced the crowd. She rose from her throne and spoke so all could hear. Today the galaxy will witness strength. Today we will see who deserves to be called a warrior. And today, we will also learn the truth about the humans. I, your queen, have no doubt what that truth will be. Let this day be remembered. The arena shook with applause and cheers. The queen sat back down, her eyes fixed on the humans, waiting for the spectacle she believed was about to unfold. In the center of the arena, one human soldier adjusted the strap on his armor and exchanged a look with his teammates. No words were spoken, but the meaning was clear. They had trained for this moment. They had been underestimated before, and they would not waste time trying to change opinions with speeches. They would speak with their actions. Around them, the alien champions shifted impatiently, eager to begin. Their heavy weapons hummed, their claws scraped against the ground, and their roars filled the air. The humans remained silent, their hands steady, their breaths calm. From her throne, the alien queen tilted her head, still smiling. She thought. She already knew the outcome. To her, the humans looked like small animals about to walk into the jaws of predators. She did not understand why the galaxy even allowed them into the arena. She imagined the battle would last only moments before the humans fell. The great horns of the arena blew, signaling the start of the demonstration. The crowd rose to their feet, their voices rising into a roar. The ground shook as the alien champions prepared to charge. The queen leaned forward on her throne, eager to see the humans stumble and fall. But in that moment, as the first movement stirred across the arena floor, something flickered in her eyes. It was brief, almost unnoticeable, but it was there. She saw the humans tighten their grips on their weapons, their eyes sharp and unblinking. There was no fear in their faces, no hesitation. The queen did not admit it to herself then, but deep inside, a small question began to form. What if the humans were not as weak as she believed? The horns echoed through the vast arena, and the battle began. The alien warriors were the first to move. Their heavy feet struck the ground like thunder, their roars rising above the cheers of the crowd. They charged forward with confidence, weapons glowing and claws ready to tear. Dust rose in thick clouds as the strongest fighters from across the galaxy rushed at their new prey. The alien queen leaned back on her throne, her lips curving into a smile. This was exactly what she had expected. Her people would crush the humans, within moments. She imagined them stumbling, falling, and crying out as they were overwhelmed. Her laughter almost bubbled up again as she thought of how quickly the humans would be defeated. But what happened next made her pause. The humans did not charge recklessly. They did not scatter in fear. Instead, they moved together, as if they were one body with many arms. When the first alien warrior swung his massive blade down, two humans dodged to the side while another rolled beneath the strike. The weapon slammed into the ground, creating a crack, but no human was caught beneath it. Before the alien could lift his blade again, a human rifle fired, the shot striking the weak point in the alien's armor. The giant stumbled backward with a roar of pain. The crowd gasped. The queen's smile faltered just for a moment. Another alien champion lunged forward, his claws gleaming in the light. A human soldier ducked low, swept his leg out, and sent the larger fighter tumbling sideways. Before the alien could recover, another human struck him across the helmet with a solid blow. The alien fell, stunned. The humans moved quickly, never wasting time. Their actions were sharp, precise, and perfectly timed. Every dodge, every counterattack, every strike seemed planned. While the other species relied on raw strength and size, the humans relied on speed, teamwork, and patience. The queen leaned forward on her throne, her eyes narrowing. She had expected panic, but what she saw was discipline. She had expected clumsy movements, but instead, the humans were graceful in their simplicity. Their weapons might not have been glowing with energy, but they struck exactly where they needed to, and then her eyes caught him, the one soldier who seemed to lead without words. He was not the largest human nor the loudest. He did not wear the fanciest armor or hold the biggest weapon. Yet his presence drew her gaze again and again. He moved with steady confidence, his steps sure, his eyes always focused. When his teammates needed help, he was there. When an alien champion tried to flank them, he saw it coming and cut them off. His every move spoke of training, discipline, and courage. The queen found herself unable to look away. This one human fought with something different, something she had not seen even in her own best warriors. His strength was not in his arms or his weapons, but in his unshakable will. The arena grew louder as the battle continued. The crowd, once mocking, now shouted in surprise. Spectators who had laughed at the humans before were now on their feet, watching with wide eyes. The aliens were still strong, but their size became a weakness as they tired faster. Their heavy weapons slowed them down while the humans remained quick, their strikes sharp and efficient. The queen's fingers tightened on the armrest of her throne. She told herself it was only luck, that the humans would soon falter. But the soldier she watched never faltered. Even when a massive alien 3 times his size swung down with crushing force, the human slipped aside, his body moving with practiced ease. He struck back with precision, hitting the exact spot that weakened his opponent's armor. The alien staggered, unable to continue. The queen's advisors shifted nervously beside her. They had expected an easy victory for her warriors. Now they looked at the humans with a mixture of confusion and concern. The queen, however, refused to admit what she was beginning to see. "These are tricks," she muttered to herself. "Clever moves, nothing more. They cannot last." But deep inside, her certainty wavered. The human soldier reminded her of something she had seen long ago, when her own people were young and underestimated by the galaxy. She had once fought against empires that had dismissed her species as weak, only to prove them wrong with relentless spirit. Now she watched the humans do the same. The battle raged on. More aliens fell. The humans grew tired, sweat shining on their faces, but they did not stop. They adapted. They adjusted. They supported one another with quick signals, sometimes only a glance or a nod. Each time an alien warrior thought they had found an opening, a human was there to close it. The queen's smile was gone now. Her laughter was silent. Her eyes were fixed on the soldier who fought with such determination. She saw in him a power that no weapon could create, no armor could match. It was the power of resilience, of refusing to give up, of standing firm, even when the odds seemed impossible. The crowd roared louder with each passing moment. The mood had shifted. At first they had been eager to laugh at the humans, now they were cheering for them. Every time a human dodged a deadly strike or brought down a larger foe, the arena shook with thunderous applause. The queen felt a strange chill. She had mocked them. She had called them fragile, unworthy, weak. Yet now, before her own eyes, she saw them proving the opposite. Her gaze returned to the soldier, the one who fought at the center of it all. His eyes burned with fire, but not with pride or arrogance. It was something else, something she struggled to name: determination, endurance, a will that could not be broken. For the first time, the alien queen felt her confidence slip. The arena was no longer filled with laughter. What had started as a show of strength had turned into something no one expected. The alien champions, who had entered with loud roars and glowing weapons, were now breathing heavily, their bodies slowing down. Their armor, once shining with pride, was scratched and dented. Some had already fallen, unable to rise again, and yet the humans still stood. The crowd leaned forward in their seats, eyes wide, hearts racing. No one had imagined the battle would last this long. Whispers spread among them. Could the humans actually win? For a galaxy that had always looked at them as weak, the thought was almost impossible to believe. But there it was, unfolding before their very eyes. At the highest seat, the alien queen sat frozen in silence. Her lips, which had once curled in mocking smiles, were now pressed into a straight line. She could not look away. Her warriors, bred for strength and trained since birth, were beginning to stumble. The humans, though smaller and armed with simpler weapons, still moved with determination. Her eyes searched the field until they found him again, the human soldier who had caught her attention earlier. He was no taller than the rest of his kind, but there was something about him. His every step was precise, his every strike meaningful. He did not waste energy. He did not panic. When others would have faltered, he pressed on with steady focus. She watched as one of her strongest champions, a towering figure with spiked armor, raised his weapon high and brought it down with all his might. The ground shook, dust flew, and for a heartbeat it seemed the human was finished. But then through the haze she saw him move. He rolled aside at the very last moment, his body flowing with the rhythm of survival. Rising to his feet, he struck back, not wildly, but with sharp precision. His weapon cut through the weakened joint in the champion's armor, sending the giant crashing to the ground. The crowd erupted in disbelief. Some shouted in shock, others roared with excitement. The arena trembled with the sound of voices, but the queen heard nothing except the steady beat of her own heart. She remembered how she had laughed at the humans, mocking them in front of her court. She remembered the certainty in her voice when she had said they would break. But here was this human, standing tall among giants, refusing to yield. The sight forced her to confront something she had never wanted to admit, that perhaps she had been wrong. Her advisors shifted nervously beside her. They glanced at her face but did not dare speak. They too had mocked the humans, echoing her words with pride. Now they looked as if they wanted to disappear. The queen's generals clenched their fists, angry that their strongest warriors were being pushed back, but even they could not deny the truth in front of them. The battle grew more intense. Sweat dripped down the faces of the humans, their breaths came heavy, but their eyes never wavered. They had trained for hardship, for endurance, for long struggles where victory was earned not by size but by persistence. Every time an alien warrior thought the humans would collapse, they rose again. The queen leaned forward, resting her chin against her hand, her eyes never leaving the human soldier. She began to understand something she had missed all along. The humans did not fight with the biggest weapons or the strongest bodies. They fought with something deeper, their spirit. It was not about the strength of their arms, but the strength of their will. In that moment, the queen felt a strange memory return. Long ago, before her empire was powerful, her people had been underestimated too. Larger species had mocked them, calling them weak, unworthy of respect. But they had risen through determination, through unity, through never surrendering even when the odds were against them. She saw that same fire now, burning in the eyes of the humans. Her chest tightened, though she did not show it. For the first time she felt something she had not expected to feel toward the humans: respect. Down in the arena, the human soldier raised his weapon again. His face was calm, his movements steady. Around him, his fellow warriors stood shoulder to shoulder, backing one another, protecting one another. Their teamwork was unlike anything the queen had seen before. Where one stumbled, another lifted him. Where one faltered, another filled the gap. It was as if they moved with one heartbeat, one mind, one soul. The alien champions, by contrast, fought alone. They had size, they had strength, but they did not have unity. They roared for themselves, swung for their own pride, and cared little for their companions. Against humans who fought as one, their strength slowly began to crumble. Thor. Crowd's cheers shifted. At first they had laughed at the humans. Now they shouted their names. They cheered for their courage, for their resilience, for their refusal to yield. The arena, which had been filled with mockery at the beginning, now thundered with admiration. The alien queen sat in silence. She had wanted to laugh, to prove her superiority. Instead, she was witnessing a truth she could not ignore. Strength was not only in muscle, armor, or weapons. Strength was in the heart. And the humans carried that strength more fiercely than anyone she had ever seen. Her eyes returned to the soldier once more. Dust covered his face, his armor was scratched, but his stance was unshaken. His eyes burned like fire, not of pride, but of pure determination. She felt a chill run through her as she realized this was the spirit of humanity. This was what made them dangerous, not their weapons, not their technology, but their will to fight until the very end. The queen no longer leaned back with pride. She sat forward, her gaze fixed, her laughter gone. For the first time, the alien queen admitted to herself silently and unwillingly, The humans were not weak. The battle finally reached its climax. The arena was filled with dust, smoke, and the sounds of heavy breathing. Many of the alien champions had fallen, their pride shattered, while the humans, though exhausted, still stood tall. The soldiers' armor was scratched and dented, their clothes torn, and sweat ran down their faces, but their determination never wavered. Every eye in the arena, from the smallest creature to the largest, was fixed on them. The alien queen, who had once laughed at these humans, now sat in stunned silence. Her eyes were wide, her mind racing. She had watched countless battles in her life, seen many warriors rise and fall, but nothing like this had ever occurred before. She had mocked them, dismissed them, and believed their defeat would be effortless. Yet here they were, standing victorious where giants had failed. The human soldier she had been watching closely moved to the center of the arena. He looked around at his fallen enemies and then at his companions. There was no arrogance in his expression, no prideful smile. He was simply calm, steady, and focused. His eyes held the fire of someone who had endured hardships, who had trained for this moment, and who understood the true meaning of courage. The queen's advisors shifted nervously beside her. They had hoped to see their champions dominate the humans, yet every move the humans made only deepened the amazement. Some whispered to each other, questioning how such small, seemingly fragile beings could defeat creatures that were far larger, stronger, and more heavily armed. None dared speak these thoughts aloud, fearing the queen's wrath, but she herself was beginning to understand the truth. She had always believed that strength could be measured by size, weaponry, and raw power. She had ruled empires on that belief. Yet here, in this arena, she saw that strength was something more than physical. It was in the heart, the mind, and the will. The humans had something her warriors did not: unity, patience, and a refusal to surrender, no matter how dangerous the odds. The crowd erupted as the humans delivered the final decisive moves. Even the alien champions who remained could not stand against their coordinated efforts. The humans worked together seamlessly, each covering the other, each striking when the moment was right. Their victory was not about destroying for pride, it was about achieving what seemed impossible. The alien queen leaned forward, her hands gripping the armrests of her throne. She had never felt anything like this before. It was not fear, exactly, but awe. Respect. She realized that her initial laughter had been misplaced. These humans were not the weaklings she had mocked. They were a force that could not be measured by size or technology alone. For a moment, silence filled the arena. The dust settled, and all eyes turned to the humans who stood breathing heavily but unbroken. The queen rose slowly from her throne, her robes flowing around her like liquid metal. The entire arena fell quiet, sensing something extraordinary was about to happen. She stepped forward and raised a hand. "Enough," she said, her voice clear and commanding. "The humans have proven themselves." The soldiers in the arena looked up, exhausted but aware that their courage had been witnessed and acknowledged. The queen's gaze returned to the soldier she had been watching. She nodded slowly, almost reluctantly, yet with a weight of sincerity. In that gesture, she admitted what her words had not yet expressed. She respected him. She respected all of them. The crowd erupted in cheers, louder than before, but this time there was a different tone. It was not mockery nor simple excitement, it was admiration. Every species in the arena, from the smallest to the largest, recognized the humans' incredible spirit. They had shown that courage, teamwork, and determination could overcome even the greatest challenges. The alien queen remained standing, silent for a moment, letting the scene before her sink in. She remembered the first time she had laughed at the humans, how she had been so sure of her judgment. And now she understood the lesson. Strength was not only measured by power, it was measured by endurance, by spirit, by the ability to rise, again and again. No matter how impossible the situation seemed, the humans gathered together, their tired faces lighting up with relief and quiet pride. They did not boast or taunt. They simply acknowledged the moment with respect for one another. They had not come seeking recognition or fame. They had come to show what they were capable of, and in doing so, they had changed the way the galaxy viewed them forever. The alien queen returned to her throne, her mind racing. She had witnessed something remarkable, something she could not ignore. She had laughed at these humans, but now she understood that her laughter had been premature and her judgment flawed. The humans had fought not just with their bodies, but with their hearts and minds, showing a strength that could not be measured by mere size or weaponry.